I'm wearing this shirt inside out, my friends. Sorry about that. Okay. Hello, welcome to my second channel. If you're new here and you don't know who I am, my name is Veronica Wang, and I am typically a food YouTuber. I do mukbangs and challenges and stuff on my main channel, but this is my second channel. I'm going to be doing story times and other challenges and probably still food stuff and beauty stuff, things of that nature, just miscellaneous stuff other than what I do on my main channel, which is mukbang. But yeah, anyways, today we're going to be talking about my experience in Cusco, Peru. And I'm sharing this story because I know a lot of you guys are curious as to why I disappeared for a month. And I posted on my community section on my main channel a photo of me in the hospital. Like, my eyes were so swollen and I could hardly actually see out of my eyes. And I'm also sharing this story because I want to better prepare anybody who plans on going to a country like South America, where they have very high altitudes. And yeah, I just thought that sharing this story could be beneficial to someone who is planning on traveling to a place such as Cusco, and you know, the pros and cons to everything and what you should do to better prepare yourself. But yes, anyways, let's just get into the story. So how did I first decide to go to Cusco, Peru? I think is a question that I should be answering. So I've always wanted to go to Machu Picchu. I'm very into ancient people and ancient times, and I've always kind of been curious to see these monuments in person, to put words and pictures into better perspective. So I've always wanted to go there. And then I'm a culinary student, and my college was offering a culinary tour in Peru, in Lima, and in Cusco. And so I took the chance and signed up to go. Now, our school did recommend that we go see a doctor before we visit Peru, to see if they would want us to take any pills like gravel or any altitude type medication. I did take some precautions. I did made sure I had lots of water, but that just it just didn't help, and we'll get into that later. So we arrived to Peru, Lima. We were there for only a couple days, and then we immediately went to Cusco, Peru. And the guide informed us that we would start experiencing some type of uncomfort when we landed. A lot of people didn't feel uncomfortable, but immediately when we landed, I just felt the pressure. When we got out of the plane, walking, I felt okay, but once we got outside and we started walking up a slight hill, I could actually feel me losing my breath a little bit. I felt like I was jogging even though I was walking. It was quite intense. But then we took a bus to our hotel room, and it wasn't until we started walking around that I really felt the altitude difference. But before we started walking around looking at markets, things of that nature, we were recommended to drink cocoa leaf tea. I personally would not recommend anyone drinking this drink if they are sensitive to caffeine, or if they get dehydrated quickly when drinking caffeine. So if you're someone who drinks coffee and you find that you have to use the washroom a lot, I definitely wouldn't recommend the cocoa tea. The caffeine is supposed to bring more oxygen to your blood, allowing you to breathe better, but I found that for me it was an adverse effect. I actually found that the caffeine, because I'm so sensitive to dehydration, it actually dehydrated me faster, and my body had a very difficult time catching up and adjusting to the altitude and adjusting to everything. So that's a little kind of Easter egg into where we're going with everything. So after we had the cocoa leaf tea, some people were chewing on the cocoa leaves, we started to walk around, and I immediately again felt like I was running a race. A lot of people felt like they were running a race. I started getting a headache almost instantly, and I would recommend bringing Advil for sure, Gradvil for sure. I'll leave a list down below in the description box. But yeah, I would definitely I'm personally sensitive to Tylenol. Tylenol doesn't really work for me. Only the gel Advil pills, the green gel Advil pills work for me. And for some reason on this trip, I didn't bring them with me. Usually I always have them in my purse. So I didn't have it this time, but I had lots of water with me. I took Tylenol, but it just didn't work, and my headache just kept getting worse and worse. And we were walking around so much, I couldn't breathe. I was so tired. I was having a difficult time walking. I started getting dizzy. I had a really bad headache. So eventually I was actually the only one who started experiencing the severe, people experience a little bit here and there, but I experienced it the most severe out of everyone. And so I went back to the hotel and I took a rest. Mind you, we did get right off the plane to the hotel room, drop our stuff off, and then we were out into the market right away. So a lot of things were happening right away. Maybe I needed a couple hours to sit down, to relax before just walking around and being super active just as I landed in Cusco. That probably would have been the better thing, but that was our itinerary. So, you know, I wanted to get my money's worth. I was there for my experience. I wasn't really thinking about that too much. But yeah, eventually I had to call it quits. I threw in the towel and I went back to my hotel. I was kind of upset because I really was enjoying the market. I ended up going back to my hotel, and I thought, you know, I took a couple of Advils. Maybe if I lay down, I'll feel better. So I lay down, I ended up passing out, I fell asleep. And when I woke up, it did not get better. I could not sleep it off. When I woke up, immediately when I opened my eyes and I stared at the ceiling of my hotel room, everything was moving. I felt so heavy. I felt like attached to the bed. I almost felt like I couldn't get up from the bed. It was exhausting just to get out of the bed. My head was hurting. I could hardly see out of my eyes just because my headache was so strong. And just to get out of the bed, I felt like I was in slow motion doing everything, trying to just get out, because I actually woke up because our guide was knocking on my door. So I got up finally. The whole room was shaking. My head was just pounding. It felt like it took me 5 minutes just to get to that door. I finally opened it up. She asked me if I was okay, and I just told her I had a really bad headache. I told her I wasn't feeling well, and she just told me to go lay down and sleep it off, and she'll come back and see me in a couple hours. So I closed the door. She said, stay hydrated. I said, okay. And I walked back to the bed. I grabbed my big water bottle. I laid down on my bed. Sorry, it's my dirty ass pillow. I laid down on the bed and I just had my water bottle. I just kept drinking water. I kept drinking water. And I was like, God, please, like, I need, like, please, fuck. And I felt like the whole time I knew I was dehydrated. I knew instantly that I was dehydrated. I was like, this is because my body's not catching up. None of the water's going right through me. I was getting up consistently to go to the washroom. It was just flushing right through me, and I didn't know what to do. And I was like, oh God, please, like, when is this going to stop? It felt like the worst hangover you could ever possibly have times 10 million. It was just, oh my God, I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy. It was horrible. So eventually I drank so much water, my body can't even handle it anymore. So I start feeling nauseous. I start feeling like I need to throw up. So I rushed to the washroom. I throw my beds over the cover. I rushed to the washroom. I slammed the door shut. I throw my head over the toilet, and I'm just like projectile vomiting. We had soup earlier in that day, so everything came out, and it just wasn't a pretty sight. It was just non-stop, just puking. I couldn't stop puking. I was puking so much I wasn't even puking up anything anymore. I was actually just choking on the air, and I felt like at times that I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was just gonna like end up swallowing my tongue, or just, it was fucking insane. So I finally, when I got a grip of myself, I walked back to the bed. I sat on the bed and I just kept on drinking more water. I'm like, eventually my body has to catch up. Eventually this is gonna do something for me. And it got to a point where, again, I had to walk to the washroom and throw up. And I was on a higher level in this hotel. Mind you, this hotel was only about 4 levels, and I was on the highest one. So I was like, you know what? After that point, I had like one more water bottle left. Nothing was feeling better. Nothing was getting better. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go downstairs, maybe to a lower level. Maybe that would help. I mean, it can't be much of a difference, but maybe that will help me just a little bit, because, you know, hire you. That was my train of thought, right? Because I was like, what else do I do at this point? So I finally get up, I muster the strength up, I get up, I walk downstairs. I'm like a zombie at this point. I have my hoodie on because I'm starting to get really cold. So I throw my hoodie on, I put my hat on, my eyes are starting to swell up. I didn't want anyone to see me, so I threw my sunglasses on, and then I just had my water bottle in my hand and I walked all the way downstairs to the main lobby. Now, at this point, I'm just so fucking exhausted. Like, I just want it to be over with, right? I get down to the main lobby, I throw myself on the couch, and I just lay there, and I'm just focusing on my breathing. I'm like focusing on my breathing. I'm like, this is gonna be over soon. This is gonna be done soon. You've had worse days than this. I swear you have. You just keep telling yourself you've had worse days than this. You've had worse hangovers than this. So as I'm just trying to convince myself dying, I have to puke again, and I rush to the washroom, and absolutely nothing, just a couple of the water, that like the last amount of water I drank came out, and then after that it was me just choking on my throat again and feeling like I was gonna die and feeling like I wasn't gonna breathe. I couldn't breathe. There was no one at the front desk. I felt like I was dying, and immediately I thought to myself, you know, my stuff is still all scattered out to my hotel room. What if I die? What if something happens to me? Like, these are my thoughts as I'm dying. I was like, I don't want anyone stealing my shit, even if I die. This shit is being sent back to my house so my sister can take ownership of it. So after that, I come to, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go upstairs and pack my shit. So I muster up some strength, I go back upstairs, I pack everything, I put locks on my luggage, and then I call my friend. Because at this point, I feel like I need to be airlifted to a hospital, I need to get to a hospital, I need to go home. I even debated, I was like, no, I'm like, I can't do this, I'm not gonna survive this, I'm going to die. I actually felt like I was going to die. The severity of the dehydration I was experiencing, and I didn't know it was dehydration at first. I had an idea, but we'll get into that later. But the severity of the symptoms I was experiencing, I was like, I'm going to die for sure. I'm gonna be able to like eventually just not be able to breathe. I was already struggling to breathe. It felt so difficult just to take one breath. I knew I wasn't getting enough oxygen. So eventually I just called my friend, because like I was like, you know what, if I'm gonna die, I want at least someone that I know, that I care about, to be on the phone with me, to like comfort me, or so I could be with someone that I care about if I'm gonna die. So yeah, it was that insane. So eventually I call my friend up, you know, we're on the phone together, and you know, he's just like, you look like shit. And I was like, I know, I feel like I'm gonna die. He's like, you need to get an oxygen tank. You need an oxygen tank right now. He's like, where are you? I'm like, I just packed my stuff upstairs. I'm like, should I buy a plane ticket? He's like, yes, get a plane ticket. I'm like, okay, I need to call insurance first to see that they're covered. He's like, no, you're not calling insurance to see if they're gonna cover. He's like, I'll pay for your ticket if I have to. You need to go home, or you need to get an oxygen tank, or you need to go to the hospital. He's like, this is insane. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go downstairs and ask for an oxygen tank. So I'm like this, like I'm on the phone like this now. On the phone like this, I was on FaceTime. And so I grab my water bottle, I muster the strength up again to walk downstairs. So I finally get downstairs, and then thank God there's a woman at the desk. I go to the desk and I ask her right away to call my guide. We had a little bit of trouble communicating at first, but thank God that we were able to get through to each other, and she called my guide. My guide gets on the phone, so now I'm actually on a phone, and I'm on FaceTime, and I have my water bottle over here, and I'm like, I need an oxygen tank. She's like, why? I was like, I need an oxygen tank. I can't breathe properly. I feel like I'm gonna die. I feel like I'm gonna pass out. And she's like, no, we can't give you an oxygen tank. I was like, okay, well, if I die, it's on you. And I gave it back to the woman at the hotel room, and they spoke, and then I walked over to the I love how I'm like such a smart ass. I'm like, if I die, it's your fault. So then I walk over to back to the couch, and I just cripple up on the couch and lie there. And then my friend is like, I can't believe they're not gonna give you a fucking oxygen tank. I was like, yep, sayonara, my friend, it's been good. And he's just like, you're not gonna fucking die. He's like, you have the will to live. I'm like, yeah, I do, but at this point, like, what the fuck am I gonna do? So he's like, I'm buying you a ticket to come home. I was like, no. I'm like, no, don't do that yet. Let me figure this out. So eventually the woman comes with an oxygen tank, and I'm like, oh, thank God, because they probably realize, yo, if this bitch actually dies, it will actually be on us. And if you're ever in a situation like this, record. If you can't talk to someone and you're in a situation like this, record yourself. You know, make sure that you have some type of documentation of this happening. So God forbid anything happens, you have a video, right? And that will do you justice just in and of itself, and maybe even unlock your phone. Send the video to a couple people. If you're not gonna unlock your phone, send a video to your people. Maybe thank God, I swear to you, if I was like about to die and I was someone with like a lot of bad shit on my phone, I don't have anything like that I would ever be worried about on my phone, but say I was somebody, I think like as I'm about to croak, I'd probably be deleting shit off my phone. Okay, anyways, getting back to this being serious. And so they eventually give me the oxygen tank. Immediately when they put the oxygen tank around me, I felt so much better. The headache wasn't as strong. After a couple minutes, the headache wasn't as strong. I felt like I could breathe again. I felt so much better. And I was trying not to breathe too fast, because then I knew if I breathed in too fast, I would start hyperventilating, and I wanted to avoid that. But throughout this experience, I thought a couple times I was gonna have a seizure, and I never have had a seizure my entire life. So for me to feel that way, I was like, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I'm like so close to having a fucking seizure. But for me to feel that way, I felt in my body like I was gonna start compulsing or convulsing, whatever that word is. Fuck. So eventually I'm on the oxygen tank. I feel a little better. I'm still on FaceTime. I still have my water bottle. I'm feeling a little better, and immediately I start feeling sick again. Immediately. It's like, you know, when you're drunk and then you go puke and then you lay back in your bed and you feel good for a bit and you're like, oh, here it comes again. So the minute that the oxygen was like making me feel really good, I felt my body was just like, all right, time to throw shit up again. So I was like, all right, I'll be right back. I put my phone down. I ran to the washroom and I just puked my guts out again. I was choking on my throat. Felt like I was gonna die all over again. It was the worst experience ever. You know, as many times as I've had hangovers and I've had to like puke out all the alcohol, I never actually felt like I was gonna die by choking on my own throat. You know, like I felt like multiple times I was gonna die somehow. Either I was gonna gag so hard that I was gonna literally like break my throat. It was intense. It was insane. So I get out of the washroom, I like clean up as I'm like dead, literally as I'm fucking dead. I grab for the toilet paper and I clean up the toilet seat, and then I leave and I go back and I just die back on the couch. I pick up my phone. I'm like, yo. So he's just like, yo, you need to call them. You need to see where they are. You need to talk to someone ASAP. So I go back over. At this point, my oxygen tank's off. I go back over, I make a call to them. They assure me that they're on their way. I go and sit back on the couch and I immediately put the oxygen tank there. And I think I was there for about 15 minutes. Felt like an hour, but I think I was there about 15, 20 minutes max, waiting for her to arrive. So eventually she comes, she sits beside me. She sees that I'm like not all there. Mind you, I have my sunglasses on and a hoodie on because I'm freezing. I'm like, I can't stop shaking. So she sees that like I'm very obviously not well, so she calls the doctor that they know in Peru, in Cusco. So she speaks to the doctor, she's explaining to the doctor all my symptoms, and he's like, okay, I will be there in about an hour. So I was like, she's like, okay, he's gonna be there in about an hour. I was like, an hour? I like came out of my death just to be like, bitch, an hour? And then I died again, and I was just like, okay, yeah. I'll be okay. I'll be fine. And so whatever, she gets off the phone. She's just with me. She's like, it's gonna be okay. Don't worry. She goes and get me more water. She comes back and I'm sitting there. I'm like freezing. And eventually I'm like, oh, what happened? Oh yeah. Eventually, so I'm on the FaceTime and I'm like, Alessandra. She's like, what? I was like, I'm passing out. She's like, passing out, sleeping. I was like, no, like, I feel like I'm gonna pass out. And she's like, oh shit. So she calls the doctor back. The doctor's just like, nuh-uh. If she passes out, there's nothing we can do. Get her to the hospital right now. So she's like, okay, Veronica, stay awake. She starts shaking me. She's shaking me. I'm like, she's like, stay awake. I'm like, okay, I'm staying awake. She's like, okay, we're gonna go run to the street to go get a taxi. Are you gonna be okay? And I was like, yeah. So she's like, okay, are you gonna be okay? We need to run to the side of the road. And I was just like, yeah, I can do it. Let's go. So I'm like to my friend, I'm like, I'm gonna call you back. I'll talk to you in a bit. He's like, okay, let me know what happens. I was like, okay, bye. So immediately I hang up, and this is where this is the part where I should have started recording, and I didn't, unfortunately. But if you're ever in this situation, please record yourself. This could have went like grim for me, and I would have had no evidence of it. I had evidence up until a certain point because I was on the phone with my friend, but definitely be recording the entire experience. Plus I would have had like more videos for you guys. But anyways, so we run, she gets up, she's like rushing a little bit. I'm like trying to rush a little bit, you know. We have to go downstairs, we have to go up a little bit hill. It was all extremely fucking exhausting. My head was pounding, and the minute that I got off the oxygen tank and I just breathed a couple breaths, the headache immediately started coming back stronger again. Because keep in mind, whenever I'm on the oxygen tank, whenever I'm just chilling on the couch, I always had the oxygen tank on once I finally got it. And my headache was dimming away, and I finally felt like some peace. I felt like I was dying, but I felt like some peace, you know. So as we like rush out of the hotel, go to the street, my headache starts coming back, and it starts throbbing. We finally found a taxi. We go in. I'm in the taxi. I call my friend back. I let him know we're in the taxi. And keep in mind, again, I have my glasses on and a hoodie on. And a blanket. I actually had 3 blankets over me at this point because she put blankets on me. I totally forgot about that. And I had these same blankets in the taxi. So I'm on it, I'm there, we're almost there, we're finally almost there. I feel like I'm dying, but we're finally almost there. We're a couple minutes away from the hospital, and I need to puke again. And my guide at this point has never seen me puke. She hasn't seen my face, she hasn't seen anything. She just knows I'm not well. She knows that something's going on with me. So finally, we're almost at the hospital, and my bitch ass needs to puke again. So I'm like, I really need to puke. I need to puke. We need to stop the car right now. I'm gonna puke in the car. I go to open up my door. She's like, no. She tells the taxi cab driver to stop. She jumps out. She's like, puke here, puke here. I throw myself over the cab, and I'm just projectile vomiting all the liquid that comes out. She's like, oh my God. This is when she starts freaking out, because she knew I was going to puke, but she wasn't there with me. And then so she sees me projectile vomit, and at the same time sees me choking on my own throat. And then that's when she started almost going into a panic, because at this point, she was taking it seriously, but she didn't think it was this serious. So she's like scrambling in a convenience store, because we happen to land right outside of a convenience store. She grabs some tissues. I'm finally like almost done choking on my throat. I get back in the taxi. She comes in, she gives me napkins. And at this point, I got like, you know, I got some puke on my glasses. So I was like, you know what, fuck this shit. I'm gonna take this shit off. So I then finally wiped my face, and my glasses off at this point, and I can hardly see out of my eyes. And I look at her, I'm like, thank you. She's like, she looks at me, her face goes fucking pale, and she's like, oh, Veronica, you really don't look good. And I was like, really? You think? Okay, but yeah, sorry. But yeah, she's like, you really don't look good. And I could just see that she was just getting really worried, and that started making me actually a lot more worried, because I knew I wasn't well, but seeing her reaction to me was like, all right, I'm fucked. It's game over for me. I'm dying in this hospital. And so we finally get to the hospital. I get out, we sit on the chair, and we're sitting there, and we're just waiting in the lobby, and we're waiting for the doctor to come. Eventually, it was about 10 minutes actually, they got me into a room. I laid on a bed, and they put the oxygen tank on me immediately, and the oxygen on me immediately, and I started feeling a lot better. As I was just like crippled and cold and freezing on this bed. So finally my doctor comes. Now this guy is a character on his own, and let me just tell you people, he did not look like a regular doctor. He wasn't even actually working in the hospital. He's a doctor you call. A call-on doctor. So they called him into the hospital, but the hospital knows who he is. And this man, from what I heard, because I didn't actually see it, arrived on a Harley Davidson. Not only that, but when I saw this man, as I'm dying in the bed and I looked at who my doctor was, he was wearing a black turtleneck, a long black leather trench coat, black jeans with a silver buckle, black leather belt, chain on, chain on his hand, hair done all nice. Older gentleman. He had a very kind looking face. He looked like a very nice man, but the you know, the whole outfit was a little bit concerning. He did look, it was very put together though, I have to say, but it just wasn't a doctor outfit. You know what I mean? You feel what I'm saying? He was wearing like leather boots that look like if your face was ever underneath them, you would not want your face to be there. You know, they were scary. So I was like, dying in the bed. I'm like, you know what? I don't even care. I just got back on the bed. So he takes this stethoscope out. He's speaking in my guide in Spanish. They're going over a bunch of stuff. I'm guessing she was just going over my symptoms again, because he would then go to me and he's like, you are experiencing this, and I'd be like, yes, and then they would start. So eventually he takes his stethoscope out and he starts checking my back. He's like, I need you to get up. I need to check your back. He's like, I need to check your blood pressure. He checks my blood pressure, and then he's like, I need to check your stomach area as well. So he's like, I just need you to pull down this area. The minute he said that, I like came out of my depth and I was like, fuck. Hopefully he doesn't say anything. Because I'm really into like lately, with all of these great artists that are coming out, especially them all being, in their early 20s or their late teens, they're all really excited about the 2000s, which is hilarious to me. So I've been like really inspired lately by the 2000s again as well. And so I've been tanning lately, because as you guys know, that era was the era for the tanning bed, okay? If there was any era for the tanning bed, it was that year. It was during those years. So anyway, so I went tanning just to prep myself for Peru, because I didn't want to burn too much, and I put this little bunny right there. You know those tanning stickers? Yep, she got put right there. And when he pulled it down, I was just dying in bed, and he's just like, oh, a Playboy bunny. Are you a Playboy? I was just like, no. As I'm dying in the bed, I just look at him, I'm like, no, I'm not. And he's like, oh, he's like, that's funny. He's like, okay, he's like, I'm gonna check there. He's like, I'm putting it on the little bunny. And then he plops the stethoscope on my bunny, and I was just like dying. I'm like, not the fucking time. But like, it was nice because it wasn't creepy. It was actually like quite funny the way he did it. So I wasn't like creeped out. I didn't feel uncomfortable. It was honestly quite hysterical, but I was just like dying, and I'm just like, this is not the fucking time. So anyway, so that was interesting. He definitely seemed like the type of man that you would call if you were sick. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But yeah, so eventually they put an IV in me. He does a bunch of other things. They take blood from me. They tell me they're gonna run some tests on me. I ended up falling asleep, and by the time I woke up, I felt a lot better, and they just told me that I was extremely, extremely dehydrated, and that they're happy that I came to the hospital when I did, and it could have been a lot worse, but they're just glad that I got myself to the hospital. So that is my story of feeling like I was going to die, almost possibly dying in Cusco, Peru. Yeah, and it's just very important if you're going to go one of these countries that you are going there with a tour company, that you have guides there, because had I gone there by myself and experienced altitude sickness alone, because there have been people who traveled to Peru alone, they traveled up the mountains, they experienced altitude sickness, some have died, some have just completely gone missing, and it's very sad. These things can happen, so you just want to be prepared for it. So the doctor ended up prescribing me gravel, a couple other things that I will leave down in the description. I'll pop it up on the screen as well. And he also recommended that I drink at least 4 Gatorades a day. And the reason for this is because when we drink a lot of water, it flushes out our sodium levels. And what I was doing, and when you do that, you just become more thirsty faster. And so his advice was to replenish my electrolytes, not drink too much water, still drink a fair amount of water, but to be drinking a lot of Gatorade as well. And so since I've gotten that advice, actually I experience dehydration a lot less now, because I'm always drinking either a Gatorade or water. back and forth, and I felt a lot better. I don't have to use the washroom as much anymore. Actually, this experience taught me a lot about my body. Like, one thing, I thought I was extremely fit. After being in Cusco, Peru, I just realized my lungs could not handle the type of environment. And so I've actually, my friend Rex, he works out with a mask that cuts the oxygen levels that you're intaking. So I brought it upon myself to purchase one of those masks, and now when I do my cardio session, I actually wear it, because I just wanna be prepared for whatever. I felt like so weak, so unhealthy being in Cusco, and I never want to feel like that again. So I've taken lessons, or I've taken these situations, I've turned them into lessons for myself, and now I've applied different things in my life, so that, you know, I can just be better prepared for anything in the future, whatever that may be. I don't know what the future holds, but you know, it's nice to just feel healthier altogether, right? So yeah, definitely be drinking a lot of Gatorade. Do not go traveling to these type of countries if you do not have a guide, if you do not have some type of doctor with you or some type of medic. You know, it's so important that if you start experiencing altitude sickness and your pills aren't working and gravel and nothing is working, yeah, you need someone who has IVs on them. You know, if you're ever traveling in these type of mountains and you experience altitude sickness and dehydration, you need an IV and you need an oxygen tank. So yeah, just do not travel to these countries unless you have 100% guaranteed that if any of these things happen to you, you're gonna have somewhere safe to go. And this doctor was really good as well. So my bill it ended up being 1,000 soles, which is actually 380 or like about 400 Canadian, which is actually not that bad. So and I have insurance as well. Also get insurance, get the best insurance possible for yourself if you're gonna go. And just make sure that you're with people who care about you and that you trust, because again, people have gone to these countries and they have experienced altitude sickness. They didn't have anyone around them that they trusted, and they ended up passing away or they're missing. So just be careful. And yeah, I would definitely go back. I was so scared that I wasn't gonna be able to go to Machu Picchu, but I did visit Machu Picchu, and actually Machu Picchu is a couple thousand kilometers below the altitude below Cusco. But yeah, anyways guys, that was my experience in Peru, in Cusco, Peru. I hope that you've taken something from this, like if you're gonna go to these countries, just to better prepare yourself. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this story time. I had a spiritual experience at Machu Picchu, so if you want to hear about that, let me know down below. But yeah, anyways, I love you guys so much. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye.